your forecast first. Sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
So we had showers and storms in the area, and there were actually a few warnings not too long ago in the afternoon. But as we now look at our satellite radar loop, and as you now know, because there's no more crawl at the bottom of the screen, the severe threat is now over. In fact, a lot of the storms are in fact over too. There are some showers in the area, but most of us are dry now with temperatures that are in the lower 70s like it is in Champaign at 73. Our Brasher Sky Cam, part of the Roofing Dog INET. A lot of us will be pretty cloudy overnight tonight, but there's not going to be much in the way of winds either, thanks to the passage of the cold front that came through earlier on. So we are expecting kind of cloudy conditions to linger into our Thursday. Temperatures will be seasonable in the low 80s, and there may still be a few spotty showers and storms along I-70, but a lot of us, in fact, will be dry for tomorrow. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now from WCIA 3 News.
Complaints were made about one police chief at a meeting tonight, why some are upset with him and why others are defending him. A teenager was in court today after being accused of sexually assaulting a 3-year-old, what police say he admitted to.
We mow about it once a week, so probably about every week we bring something out front.
And the yard waste keeps piling up, why the village hasn't been able to take care of it for months.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 10.
Several people called the police chief's conduct into question tonight, while others rallied to support him. Good evening, I'm Paul Cicchini.
And I'm Jessica Coons. Some had made complaints about Atwood Police Chief Rob Bross. They brought those up at a special meeting. The village president says those complaints were made, quote, informally. WCIA 3's Jen Lask was at that meeting tonight. So, Jen, who made these complaints specifically?
President Brody Farrar says the complaints came from those who lived there, but he could not say exactly how many people complained about Chief Rob Bross. At tonight's meeting, a few women said they were upset about interactions that they'd had with Bross after he responded to a juvenile's overdose and called DCFS. But several other people countered with a show of support for the officer, talking about positive experiences with their kids that their kids had had with him. Bross sat in the front the whole time taking notes but did not say anything. And after a private executive session, the village president said the board discussed Chief Bross's ongoing training and expectations and asked him to pause ride-alongs for now. I spoke to Bross after the meeting less than an hour ago. He said he offered to show support. He offered to show the board the body camera footage from the incidents that were discussed, and he appreciated the people who came out to support him. Beyond that, he said he couldn't go into details because of juvenile privacy laws. In the newsroom, Jen Lask, WCIA 3 News, your local news leader.
All right, Jen, thank you so much. We have some new information for you tonight. Opening statements in the Brent Christensen trial will start 1 week from today. Lawyers are still picking potential jurors. As of tonight, 45 people have been qualified. The judge wants to have a pool of 70 by the end of the week, and 12 will be picked to serve, plus 6 alternates. Christensen is accused of kidnapping and killing U of I scholar Ying Zhang 2 years ago.
A teenager charged with sexually assaulting a 3-year-old girl was in court for the first time today. Investigators say 16-year-old David Culp gave the child gonorrhea. He admitted that during an interview with police. Culp's being charged as an adult. Only 3 types of charges make a juvenile eligible to be tried as an adult. Those are sexual assault, first-degree murder, and aggravated battery with a firearm. The Douglas County State's Attorney says it's important the victim has a sense of justice in this case.
When you're involved with a case like this, you're always concerned about deterring any further conduct like this. We don't want children to be taken advantage of. We certainly want to make sure that this child is protected, that a message is sent that you cannot take advantage of children.
Rebecca Higgs and Shelby Slankard were also back in court today. They're both charged with sexual abuse of a 16-year-old. Police say they learned about that while investigating the case involving the 3-year-old. Now for an update on the death investigation of a woman in Taylorville. Her husband, who was arrested for felony domestic assault, still has his job with the Illinois Department of Corrections. Police say 30-year-old Bradley Jenkins had a fight with his new wife, Alyssa Martin, at a parking garage near Busch Stadium in St. Louis. They say she fell to her death, but recorded the fight beforehand. IDOC released a statement saying an employee will be terminated if they're charged and convicted of a felony.
Governor Pritzker signed the largest budget in state history today. It's also his first budget and includes a $1,600 pay raise for state lawmakers. WCIA 3's Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell has details from Springfield.
We're all standing here today because this is a watershed moment for Illinois. Governor Pritzker celebrated his first state budget, something ordinary in most states, but it was nearly impossible between his Republican predecessor and the Democrats in control of both chambers.
We achieved something that has eluded state government for decades. We passed a real balanced budget.
Some skeptics doubt the budget is truly balanced. What we do know, it spends a record $40 billion, sending north of 20% of that to pensions, and gives lawmakers their first raise in 11 years. And the plan gives a big boost to education, with multi-million-dollar increases at every stage between cradle and career. Something new in the budget this year, an amnesty plan that allows delinquent tax filers to pay up without the extra cost of interest or fines, a way for the state to collect cash now. Plus, some handouts for job creators, a byproduct of bipartisan negotiation.
I was pleased to work with Leader Durkin on some of the tax credits that he wanted for some businesses in the state.
Special tax credits could lure data centers to Illinois. A Blue-Collar Jobs Act promotes development in low-income areas. The budget brings back the manufacturing purchase credit and gets rid of the franchise tax. The new budget starts July 1st. In Springfield, Mark Maxwell, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
The governor also signed new progressive or graduated income tax rates today, but those would only go into effect if voters approved it on the November 2020 ballot. Brush piles in St. Joe are piling up in front of houses. The village hasn't picked them up in more than 2 months.
And people in town are getting irritated, but there's a reason the city hasn't been able to burn the debris. WCIA 3's Jennifer Jensen is here. So, Jennifer, what exactly is stopping them?
Paul, for years, a neighbor who lives by the burn site has been complaining about the heavy smoke that blows right into their property. They've even called the EPA, which later contacted the village about the problem. And the mayor says they may have a solution. In St. Joe, you'll see house after house with stacks of brush piles sitting on the curb.
It's an eyesore. Yes, it is. The pile just keeps growing.
Every week, Susan Fiskus mows the lawn, clips the hedges, and pulls the weeds, expecting once a month the village will come and collect the debris. But that hasn't happened since April.
We noticed the neighbors across the street didn't have theirs picked up either, so we had no clue what was going on.
The mayor says they haven't been able to burn the yard waste because there's been an ongoing conflict with the family who lives directly behind the burn site. Those people have even contacted the EPA to intervene.
What are their biggest complaints?
Is the smoke. I mean, you have a brush pile that large with the entire community of St. Joe of a brush pile. It will create quite a bit of smoke.
I went to the family's house to get their take on the issue. But they weren't home. It turns out the village wasn't following EPA brush burning guidelines. They were ordered to adjust their policy by having someone to monitor the site at all times while they're burning. The village has even considered moving the burn site.
There's really not a good option for that because no matter where you go, there's always going to be neighbors.
The mayor says the village tried to burn when the wind was blowing away from their house, but that didn't work. So they came up with another plan and rented an air burner box to contain and reduce the smoke.
This piece of equipment is actually EPA approved, so we're hoping that that's going to be a solution.
The village started burning at the site a few days ago. The mayor says it'll be a couple weeks before they can get rid of the debris that's sitting there now. Yard waste pickup will continue to be suspended until that happens. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer, you have to let us know if anything changes there. Thanks. Well, storm drains help get rid of rainwater, but not if they're clogged with grass. That's why the Buckley Village Board is reminding people to properly dispose of their grass clippings. The board says when people mow, grass ends up in the streets and eventually in the storm drains where the system gets stopped.
They were prizes earned long ago. Why some people are just now getting them from one school.
Plus, one business has become a hit with the community.
Having a dedicated space I can separate, work and home life has definitely been hugely beneficial.
Now, other communities will get those perks too.
And several soon-to-be MLB players have one thing in common, where they all got their starts.